When we think of organized crime, names like the mafia in Italy or cartels in Latin America often come to mind. But in Japan, there exists a criminal underworld unlike any other, one that has operated openly for centuries, building an empire rooted in tradition, fear, and power. This is the story of the Yakuza, Japan's most dangerous crime syndicate. The Yakuza's history stretches back to the 17th century during Japan's Edo period. They were originally groups of gamblers and street merchants living on the fringes of society. Many were outcasts, people with no place in the rigid class system. But from these humble beginnings grew a powerful organization that blended crime, ritual, and honor. Some of the earliest Yakuza groups claimed to be protectors of the weak, standing up to corrupt officials and violent samurai. This Robin Hood-like image helped them win favor among ordinary people, though their activities often revolved around illegal gambling and extortion. Over time, the Yakuza developed a strict code of conduct. Loyalty, obedience, and hierarchy became the backbone of their organization. At the top sits the Oyabun, or boss, who commands absolute authority. Below him are the Kobun, or followers, bound to their leader in a relationship resembling that of a parent and child. This structure, known as the Oyabun-Kobun relationship, is central to the Yakuza identity. Betrayal is one of the greatest sins, often punished with brutal consequences. One of the most infamous practices of the Yakuza is yubitsume, the ritual of cutting off a portion of one's finger to atone for mistakes or failures. Losing a piece of one's finger serves both as punishment and as a symbol of devotion. Over decades, many Yakuza members end up with shortened, mutilated hands, a permanent reminder of their loyalty and the cost of disobedience. By the 20th century, the Yakuza had evolved into a massive criminal enterprise. After World War II, when Japan lay in ruins, the Yakuza stepped into the chaos. They provided black market goods, controlled entertainment districts, and even became involved in construction and real estate. With Japan's rapid economic growth in the post-war years, the Yakuza grew richer and more powerful, embedding themselves into almost every sector of society. The Yakuza's activities go far beyond traditional crime. They have their hands in gambling, drug trafficking, loan sharking, and human trafficking. But what makes them unique is their involvement in legitimate businesses. Construction companies, nightclubs, finance firms, even entertainment industries have felt their influence. This blending of legal and illegal worlds has allowed the Yakuza to build enormous wealth and power while keeping one foot in mainstream society. Perhaps most surprising is how open the Yakuza have been about their existence. For decades, they maintained public offices, complete with signs displaying their clan's name. They published magazines, held press conferences, and even engaged in charity work after natural disasters, handing out supplies and aid to win public sympathy. This strange mix of crime and public service set them apart from other crime syndicates, making them both feared and oddly tolerated in Japanese society. But behind this image lies unimaginable violence. Yakuza wars between rival clans have spilled blood across Japan. Gun battles, assassinations, and street violence mark some of the darkest chapters of their history. In the 1980s, these conflicts escalated, leading to strict crackdowns by Japanese authorities. Anti-Yakuza laws were introduced, making it illegal for businesses to have ties with gangsters and restricting the group's ability to operate openly. Despite these measures, the Yakuza have proven remarkably resilient. Their numbers have declined in recent years, dropping from nearly 180,000 members in the 1960s to fewer than 30,000 today. But they remain a force to be reckoned with. While their traditional structures may be weakening, they have adapted to modern times, moving into cybercrime, fraud, and international trafficking. The Yakuza's reach now extends beyond Japan, with ties to organized crime networks in Asia, the United States, and Europe. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Yakuza is their cultural presence. Movies, books, and video games often depict them as anti-heroes, men who live by their own code of honor, torn between violence and loyalty. Films like Outrage and video games like the Yakuza series have romanticized this dangerous world, keeping the syndicate alive in popular imagination. But behind the entertainment lies a brutal reality of exploitation, fear, and bloodshed. The Yakuza also maintain strong links with politics and business. Over the years, there have been numerous scandals where politicians were revealed to have ties with gangsters, using them to intimidate opponents or secure votes. Likewise, corporations have sometimes relied on the Yakuza to settle disputes or manage construction contracts. These hidden connections show just how deeply embedded the Yakuza are in the fabric of Japan's power structures. Another chilling aspect of the Yakuza is their practice of yubitsumi, the ritual of cutting off one's finger. This gruesome punishment is used as a way to atone for mistakes, disobedience, or failure within the organization. By slicing off a portion of their finger, members symbolically weaken their grip on a sword, reminding them of their dependence on the group for protection. While modern Yakuza may not enforce this practice as strictly as before, stories of men with missing fingers remain a haunting symbol of the price of loyalty and the consequences of betrayal. The Yakuza have also had a strange relationship with Japanese society. On one hand, they are feared for their brutality and criminal activities. Yet on the other, they have been seen stepping in during disasters or times of crisis. For example, during the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, Yakuza organizations were among the first to deliver food, water, and blankets to victims. This paradox paints them not only as criminals, but also as a shadowy force that sometimes fills the gaps left by the government, complicating how they are perceived by the public. In the world of finance and real estate, the Yakuza's influence has been just as powerful as their activities in the streets. Throughout the economic boom of the 1980s, they used front companies to invest in construction, property, and the stock market, turning illicit money into legitimate profits. These white-collar operations blurred the line between organized crime and legitimate business, showing how deeply entrenched the Yakuza became in Japan's economic system. Even as authorities cracked down, it was difficult to separate illegal activity from the respectable-looking corporations they controlled. One of the reasons the Yakuza endured for so long is their ability to adapt. While their traditional operations included extortion and gambling, in recent decades they've shifted towards cybercrime, fraud, and international drug smuggling. With globalization, their networks have stretched beyond Japan, forging ties with Chinese triads, Russian mafias, and even cartels in South America. This global expansion highlights that the Yakuza are not just a relic of Japan's past, but an evolving criminal network with international reach. The Japanese government has tried to dismantle the Yakuza through strict laws, such as the Anti-Boryakuden Act, which restricts their financial activities and punishes companies that knowingly do business with them. Police raids and public shaming have weakened their visibility, and membership has dropped significantly over the past few decades. Yet despite these efforts, the Yakuza are far from gone. They continue to operate in the shadows, relying on intimidation, secrecy, and their deeply rooted connections to maintain their influence. What makes the Yakuza story even more compelling is the way it reflects Japan itself, a society caught between tradition and modernity, law and disorder, honor and corruption. From their origins as gamblers and outcasts to their rise as a global syndicate, the Yakuza embody a dark but fascinating part of Japan's history. Their tattoos, rituals, and codes of conduct may look like remnants of another era, but their ongoing presence shows that organized crime has a way of surviving, adapting, and leaving its mark on every generation. Today, Japan faces a dilemma. On one hand, the Yakuza represent a threat to law and order, draining billions of dollars from the economy through crime. On the other, their structured presence has historically acted as a strange kind of stability within the underworld, preventing smaller, more chaotic gangs from taking over. The government's crackdowns have made it harder for them to operate, but some experts worry that pushing the Yakuza underground could make them more violent and unpredictable. At its core, the Yakuza story is one of contradictions. They are criminals who sometimes pose as protectors, brutal enforcers who speak of honor, and feared gangsters who perform public charity. They embody both the dark underbelly of Japan and a strange reflection of its cultural values. Discipline, loyalty, and tradition twisted into something dangerous. As the world modernizes and Japan continues to fight against organized crime, one question remains. Will the Yakuza fade into history as relics of a bygone era, Or will they evolve once more, finding new ways to exert their influence? Their secrets, power, and legacy still haunt Japan today. The Yakuza are more than just gangsters. They are a shadow empire, operating between myth and reality, and their story continues to be one of the most fascinating, dangerous, and mysterious chapters in the world of organized crime.